What's up, everybody? Jed Johnson here from dieselcrew.com. Of course, you know they call me Napalm, and here's another video in the 31 Days of Q&A series here at the YouTube channel. The question that I'm going to cover today is a question that I get several times a year, and I don't really know why this comes up. I don't know if the people are getting picked on or if they're self-conscious or what. But we're going to look at how to build wrists, how to make them bigger. Before we get into that, this video is sponsored by Forearm February. This is one of my muscle building specialization training programs. And in Forearm February, when I released this, it was the month of February, I believe 2016 or 17. And the idea was to train forearms every day. I mapped out an entire training plan so that you could hit the forearms from all angles using a variety of different tools. And along the way, you could build bigger forearms as well as stronger forearms, improve your grip strength, and I would say it would even help you build your wrists. So if this is something that you're interested in, then I would encourage you to go to the description box and check out Forearm February, as well as the other links there that will help support the channel and my business. All right, so let's get into this. Like I said, getting bigger wrists is something that I probably get asked 5 times a year. And I did a quick search on YouTube, and there's actually a surprising number of videos that address this. And it looks like many of them have showed up on YouTube in the last couple, 3 years. So, like I said, I don't know if people that ask this question are getting picked on, oh, look at your skinny, bony wrists, or if they look at their wrists and they compare to someone else and they think that they're puny or something like that. I really don't know because I've never gotten that kind of detail. But the way I look at it, the way that your wrists are built, and especially the thickness of the bones in your wrist, is probably how the rest of your body is built. So if you have really thick wrists, then probably the rest of your bones and joints are probably pretty thick too. I don't think I've ever seen someone that was like on the skinny side that had really fat wrists. And I've never seen anyone that was like heavy or very muscular that had really what I would say puny looking wrists. So I don't know. I think it's more there. I think there's a correlation between your wrist size and the rest of your bones in your body, I would say. I did see something on here where a test is to take your wrist and wrap your hand around it like this and see if you can touch your fingers. And if you have an overlap, then you have small wrists. And if you can't reach your fingers or there's a gap, then you have big wrists. That very well may be the case. I don't think that takes into consideration the length of your fingers and thumbs, though. I mean, I have an extremely long thumb. I can reach my middle finger. I also have very big hands, long hands, according to how we measure them in grip sport. And someone's going to ask me my hand size. I've got videos where I measure my hands, my thumbs, all that stuff. But at the same time, if your hands are really thick, then they're not going to get as good a wrap around your wrist. So it's not a perfect measurement, all right? Probably a better idea would be to actually take a tape measure, measure your wrists, and then try to increase that size over time. So here's the thing. If you're going to grow your wrist, there's only so many things that run through the wrist that you can grow. So what's going through the wrist? You've got, let's go ahead and write this down. If you Google for the bones and the muscles of the wrist, right, you're going to be able to see that there's not a lot going on there. So you've basically got bone, you've got muscle, you've got connective tissue, and you got nerves. And of course, over top of all that stuff is skin. So, right off the top of my head, I don't know any way that you can grow and make your skin thicker unless you would like somehow accumulate fat under the wrist. And so we can throw fat on there. But I don't know anybody that would want to add fat to their body. I don't know a way to make the skin thicker. I don't know how to make the nerves bigger. It may be possible. I just don't know anything about it. So if we look at these top three, I know that you can increase bone density through very, very heavy isometrics. And when I had a couple lifters over the years that have damaged, not damaged, but broken wrist bones, one of the ways that we've strengthened that after they've got full return to duty from their doctor is I would lay them on the bench press and have them just hold bench press at the top in order to trigger, like, I think they're called osteocytes in the bone to make them, to trigger development. So that's going to strengthen the bones. I honestly don't know if it's going to thicken the bones. I have no idea. You'd have to look into that. So bone, I see that as limited. Connective tissue, man, I know that you can trigger growth and strength in tendons through isometrics as well. You can look that up on YouTube. It's all on here. In fact, I incorporated tendon training into August of Arms SMT this year. And I got good results on that from customers. So it is possible. But how much growth can you actually get out of connective tissues in order to make your wrist thicker? I don't know. And my guess is it is going to take a long time for that to happen. Now, I'll tell you, I know that my hands got bigger from grip training because the gloves that I used to use in high school don't fit anymore. But your hands are not your wrist, and there's muscly regions of your hand that will grow from grip training. And those are the parts of my hand that I have to wedge into those gloves now. And yes, my fingers have gotten a little bit thicker. But you have to understand, I probably discovered this increase in thickness after like 5, maybe even 10 years of grip training. I don't know about my wrists. I'm sure they've gotten bigger, but I've been grip training for 20 plus years. So how fast are these adaptations going to take place? I have absolutely no idea. But I think as far as bone and connective tissue, you are extremely limited in the amount of cross-sectional area that you're going to be able to add to these tissues in the wrist area. Now, I Googled this earlier, and I brought up a picture of the muscles in the wrist. You know, you got the flexor carpi ulnaris, the extensor carpi ulnaris, and I could be mispronouncing these. It's been 25 years since I heard anyone else say these terms, so I'm just going to say them how I say them. Extensor digitorum. Look, you can Google all this, okay? But every single one of these muscles starts out red up by the elbow, and then they turn white down by the wrist. So I'm pretty sure what that means is the majority of the makeup of these tissues is turning into tendon as they go into your hand. So again, growing tendon by a large degree would take years to happen. So there are not, I just don't see a way to increase your wrist very much in size. So beyond that, if we just take a look at my wrist, this is maybe a better example, I guess. I don't know, man. Like, I'm fairly lean for me right now, but it's not like I'm a walking anatomy chart or anything. There's other people that you'd be able to see a lot better on them. But you can see right here, there's a muscle, and that's probably, I don't know what that is. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's a muscle that sticks out right there. This other stuff, I mean, you can't really see anything. But the best option for increasing size in your wrist is going to be the muscle. And really, all you need to do is train exercises that hit those muscle groups. So if you've got a bundle of extensors, so you would work extension. So I put the easy curl bar here. When I first started grip training, I was worried about getting carpal tunnel. I didn't know anything about it. So before I started doing all kinds of high intensity grip work, I did several weeks of increased volume with forearm training. And one of the lifts that I would do is just take an overhand grip on an easy curl bar and just do wrist extensions like this. And what this does is this works the extensors of the wrist. So if you want to bring up the size of your wrist and there's muscles running through there, you just want to do the same exact training that you would do for forearm building, because those muscles run through the forearm and into the hands, and you're going to build those muscles that way. The thing is, the bellies, the thickest part of the muscles of the forearm, they're way up your arm. It's like the halfway point of your arm and above. That's where the majority of the belly of the muscle is. So that's where the majority of the growth is going to take place. So you can train these for months on end, several days a week, specialization training. And yeah, some of the wrist is going to grow to a degree, but the majority of the growth is going to be in the forearm muscle belly. So you run the risk of making your wrists look even smaller because of proportions. So right now you've got a certain proportion of muscle and size between the forearm area and the wrist. And if you go and build the muscles, like I said, the end of the muscles for the most part is just white tissue, most of it tendon, doesn't grow very much. So you're going to put most of the size on the belly of the muscle, and it could potentially make your wrists look even smaller. So if you're hell bent on actually increasing the measurement of your wrist, then yes, lower arm training will help build your wrist. You'll take a tape measure when you start out, and it's going to be a certain size, and then you do this get forearm February, you train it for a month, and you just keep repeating it over and over and over, make a few adjustments, continue to work towards progressive overload and all the exercises. Eventually you're going to have growth, but it's not going to be that much, man. It's really not. You're not going to increase that measurement by that much. So I don't want to disappoint anybody, but I'm not going to sit here and give you guarantees that you're going to blow your wrists up. I saw some dude say that he increased his wrist by hanging from a pull-up bar. I'm sure once you get blood going into your wrist, that the blood flow is going to create an increased measurement. But I think the best measurements are taking cold, no pump, and that's going to be the most accurate. So take this information for what you will. If you want to build your wrists, it's really just about forearm training, because forearm training involves movement at the wrist. Naturally, you would do all angles, just how I build the program in Forearm February. And And, you know, just continue to do that over time and you'll see results. But to see any really significant increases in the size of your wrist, it's going to take a really, really long time. But I wish you the best. Check out the description box for the link to Forum February and the other links that will take you to different options you have to support the channel and my business. Give the video one of these. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all these videos that are coming your way. And all the best in your training, everybody. Take care.